This is Hidden Killers with Tony Bruschi. Here now, Tony Bruschi.
An 18-year-old girl goes on a family cruise, 6 days in the Caribbean. Her dad, her stepmom, her grandparents, a handful of siblings and step-siblings. The ship docks back in Miami, and she's found dead under a bed in her cabin, wrapped in a blanket, covered in life vests. The death certificate says homicide. The medical examiner says she was mechanically asphyxiated by another person. Her own stepmother has identified in court filings who the FBI considers a suspect. Her 16-year-old stepbrother, the kid who was sharing that cabin with her. And 5 weeks later, nobody's been charged yet. What's going on? I know you're asking the same question I am. This is the Anna Kepner case. And the more we learn, the worse it gets. We're going to go through the latest here. Be sure to press subscribe wherever you're listening to us or watching us so you don't miss any of our coverage of this and the many cases that we follow. And if you don't mind, if you're on Apple Podcasts, a review there would be greatly appreciated. Some kind words. Takes a few seconds. Maybe do it while you're listening to this. Thank you in advance for that, by the way. Okay. Anna was a senior at Temple Christian School in Titusville, Florida. Cheerleader, straight A student. She just completed entrance testing for the military. Wanted to join the Navy, eventually become a canine officer. Her family called her Anna Banana. She loved dolphins, butterflies, and the Georgia Bulldogs. She was weeks away from turning the page on high school and starting whatever came next. Instead, on November 7th, 2025, a housekeeper on the Carnival Horizon found her body stuffed under a bed in her stateroom. The ship was off the coast of Cuba, heading back to port, and by the time it docked in Miami the next morning, the FBI had taken over, and they've said almost nothing since. Here's what we do know, though. Pieced together not from federal investigators, but from family court filings in an unrelated custody battle, because that's where the truth has been leaking out in this case. Believe it or not, there's a custody battle going on with stepmom, who was on this cruise, and her ex. And because of all the things that went on the cruise, well, let's just say the dad in the other former marriage with stepmom doesn't like the idea of his kids being over here with mom, considering, one of the kids from that other family is dead, allegedly at the hands of someone from the step family. I know this is confusing. You almost need a chart with, yarn. But if you've been playing along, you've been following along, you know where this is at. If not, just keep listening. You will catch up. Anna was on this cruise with her father, Christopher Kepner, his stepmother, Chantel, her 14-year-old half-brother, her 16-year-old stepbrother, 2 younger step-siblings, and her grandparents, Jeffrey and Barbara. Okay? The night of November 6th, Anna told her family she wasn't feeling well and went back to her cabin early. That cabin, the one she shared with her half-brother and her stepbrother, according to testimony from the December 5th custody hearing, nobody in the family saw Anna for approximately 17 hours before her body was discovered. Her stepmother admitted on the stand that she didn't check on Anna that night. The next morning, Anna didn't show up for breakfast. A frantic search began, and then the housekeeper opened that door. The death certificate issued November 25th by the Florida Bureau of Vital Statistics confirmed what the family had already been told by investigators. Anna died from mechanical asphyxia. The manner of death was ruled homicide. The document specifically states she was mechanically asphyxiated by other persons. A medical examiner not involved in this case explained to reporters that mechanical asphyxia means something, an object, a physical force cut off her airway. And according to a source who spoke to ABC News, preliminary findings suggest it was likely caused by a bar hold, an arm pressed across the neck. There were no drugs in Anna's system, no alcohol, no signs of sexual assault, just an 18-year-old girl who stopped breathing in a cabin she shared with her stepbrother. Now, the FBI hasn't publicly named a suspect. They don't do that, but Anna's stepmother did in court documents filed in Brevard County. and so did the stepbrother's biological father. Both parents, in separate filings related to their ongoing custody dispute, have acknowledged that their 16-year-old son is a suspect in Anna's death and the subject of an active FBI investigation. Court documents reviewed by multiple outlets confirms that he's been identified as the sole suspect. The kid was hospitalized immediately after the ship docked. Nobody said why. He's now allegedly living with a maternal relative in an undisclosed location. Only his parents and law enforcement know where. His mother, Chantel, testified that she and Christopher Kepner removed him from the family home with the intention of removing any risk of other danger to any of the other children. He's undergoing psychological and psychiatric evaluations, allegedly. His attorney says they're waiting on those results before the FBI decides what to do next. So we've got a ruled homicide, a youth, a suspect identified by his own parents, and a family in agony, and the FBI is still reviewing footage. But here's where this story turns from tragedy into something harder to stomach, because according to Anna's ex-boyfriend, you know where I'm going with this. Were there signs? Seems so. The warning signs were there, according to the ex-boyfriend. And according to him, nobody listened. Josh, too, is 15 years old. He dated Anna until about 6 months before she died. And after her memorial service in Titusville, he spoke to reporters. He said that roughly 9 months earlier, he was on a late-night FaceTime call with Anna around 3 a.m. when she fell asleep. And while the call was still connected, he watched her stepbrother walk into her room and try to climb on top of her. When I was on FaceTime with her, and she was lying down, and her brother tried to go on top of her, Two told reporters. He said he confirmed the kid through the phone, or confronted the kid, rather, through the phone. I was like, what the hell are you doing in her room? Then he got scared and ran away. And I heard his footsteps running through the house because he got caught. And think about it. That's the time he got caught. What about all the other times where there wasn't Facebook, where there wasn't FaceTime actively documenting this? Were there other times, I guess, is the question. And I guess it probably wasn't a one-off. That's my conjecture. Two says he told Anna's parents what he saw. He says they didn't believe him. According to him, they told him if Anna brought it up herself, they'd talk to her about it then. Yes. Let's let the victim do it. She never did, because according to Two, she was too scared. He says the stepbrother warned Anna that if she said anything, he'd do something to her. Two's father, Stephen Weston, gave a separate interview to Inside Edition. He said his son told him the stepbrother was infatuated with Anna, attracted to her like crazy, that he always wanted to date her, despite the fact that they were now technically family. Weston also claimed the teen was known to carry a knife. She was scared of him, Weston said, because he always carried around a big knife. You know, like you let 15-year-olds do. These are allegations from a 15-year-old and his father. They haven't been confirmed by investigators, but they paint a very specific picture. One that the adults around Anna either missed or chose to ignore. And then there's a testimony from the December 5th custody hearing. Chantel's ex-husband, Thomas Hudson, filed an emergency motion seeking custody of their 9-year-old daughter, arguing that the circumstances of Anna's death raised serious concerns about supervision in Chantel's home. During that hearing, their 18-year-old son, Andrew, who now lives with his father, took the stand. And this, it just keeps getting worse. Andrew testified about an incident before he moved out. He says Christopher Kepner and Chantel picked him up from school and tried to take him to Titusville against his will. When he tried to get out of the car, he said, I was put in a chokehold and had held against the seat. A chokehold. Under oath, in the same family, where an 18-year-old girl just died from mechanical asphyxiation. In other words, a chokehold. dad, Anna's dad, allegedly holding the 18-year-old stepson against his will to control. Gee, I wonder where this was learned. Again, that's the allegation. Andrew also testified that he'd been allowed to drink alcohol as a teenager while visiting the Kepner home. There were allegations during the hearing that minors had access to alcohol on the cruise because it was in international waters. Chantel's attorney has denied this, though, claiming surveillance footage from the ship showed no drinking, but the allegation is out there alongside everything else. I'll tell you this, Carnival doesn't serve alcohol to minors, period. So if someone snuck it to them, it doesn't matter what international waters you may be in. On that boat, that ain't happening. At least not legally, and at least not what Carnival would technically allow. That's how that works. When you're on shore excursion in a different country, then their drinking ages apply. And then that's where things may be different. But let's just be clear about where and when, so people don't have the wrong idea or make assumptions here. I think it's important. It is. This is an important part. But again, no alcohol was even found in her system. That's an allegation. We don't know what's going on with the rest of the kids. We don't have testing. We don't have results or anything of that nature to know if the 16-year-old had anything in his system or if this is just par for the course. Chantel, for her part, painted a very different picture on the stand. She testified that Anna, her 14-year-old brother, and the 16-year-old stepbrother were the three amigos, best friends. She said they asked to share a room on the cruise, and the arrangement was made on the advice of a travel agent. She confirmed her son had been diagnosed with ADHD and was on medication for insomnia, medication he'd skipped for 2 days while on the ship. Now, again, a lot of people have ADHD. A lot of people have insomnia. That medicine is not making you go become a killer. But it's never a good idea if your body is regularly on any sort of medication to suddenly just stop taking it. The characterization that she makes doesn't exactly match what Anna's ex-boyfriend says she told him. According to two, Anna didn't feel safe around her step-relatives. She told him Chantel doesn't really like her. She avoided sleeping at home and often stayed with friends, allegedly. So which version is true? The three amigos? All wearing the sombreros? We got along great? Or the scared teenager who didn't feel safe in her own house and couldn't tell anyone? I'd be really curious to see how that conversation went. We're going on a cruise. Where am I sleeping? Oh, all you guys, the travel agent said the teenagers are going to have one room. Okay, you good with that? Okay. You can sleep with Grandma and Grandpa if you want, because they do say, they have said thousands of times over and over and over that if they didn't want to all stay together, there was another option. I'm not blaming Anna in any way, shape, or form, but when you're a teenager and you don't want to rock the boat, you're going to go along with what is being said. So she thought, I'll probably, I'll tough this out. Unfortunately, her red flags were right. It's just nobody cared or listened. Her body was found under a bed, wrapped up and covered with life vests. It tells us something went terribly wrong in that cabin. The question everyone keeps asking is simple: why hasn't anyone been charged? Chantel's attorney, Millicent Athneson, acknowledged in court that they're waiting on the FBI to make a decision. We're not sure what the FBI is going to do, she said, whether he's going to be charged federally or whether they're going to turn it over to the state. Because Anna died in international waters, the FBI has jurisdiction, but charging a 16-year-old with a federal homicide is a significant decision. Different from state juvenile proceedings with different implications, different potential sentences, different procedures. The FBI is apparently weighing that choice carefully. They're reviewing thousands of hours of surveillance footage from the ship. They're analyzing keycard swipe data to determine who entered Anna's cabin and when. They're going through her phone records, and they're waiting on those psychological and psychiatric evaluations of the suspect because a juvenile is involved. any charging decision may remain sealed. The public may never know the full details, and the family is still left waiting. Anna's aunt spoke to reporters, saying, "We don't understand why, if the boy is a suspect, why has he not been charged yet? What's happening there? We're just sitting here waiting. It's turmoil." Anna's birth mother, Heather Wright, was even more direct. "I know Anna fought," she said. "I know she fought for her life. So it's rough. It's rough," is what she said. And then there's Anna's father, Christopher Kepner, the man who married Chantel, brought this blended family together and put his daughter in a cabin with his stepbrother. He finally spoke through a statement to People magazine. "I want him to face the consequences," he said. "I'll be fighting to make sure that does happen." He added, "He was the only one in that room." And the FBI has an ongoing investigation in which they will have to provide the evidence to say that he did do it or did not do this. And I would have never thought that any of this would have happened. Nobody ever does. You had warning signs, though. Maybe you should listen to him. Again, coulda, shoulda, woulda. He never would have thought that. But a 15-year-old boy says he tried to warn him. And his grandmother, Barbara Kepner, was on that cruise. She was 2 floors above Anna's cabin, allegedly, and she told ABC News about the moment she found out her granddaughter was dead. "I just screamed," she said. "I couldn't stop screaming." When asked about her step-grandson being the suspect, she gave what might be the most honest answer anyone in this family has offered. "I don't think he had anything to do with it. But he was the only one seen coming and going, so I can't accuse him because I don't know what happened in that room. But the summation would be that he did something." The summation would be that he did something. That's where we are. A grandmother who can't bring herself to believe it, but can't explain it any other way. There's another custody hearing coming up. The FBI continues its investigation. The 16-year-old remains with relatives undergoing evaluations, uncharged. The surviving Kepner Hudson children have been unenrolled from Temple Christian because of the media attention surrounding the case. Anna's car, decorated by her classmates after her death, now sits in the driveway of the family home in Titusville. And Anna herself was cremated. Her remains processed at the Brevard County Crematory. The girl who wanted to serve her country, who dreamed of working with canine units, who her family said brought warmth and energy into every room, reduced to ashes before anyone has been held accountable. The 15-year-old boy says he saw something wrong and told the adults who were supposed to protect Anna. He says they dismissed him. He said if Anna brought it up, they'd deal with it then, allegedly. Anna Kepner never got to bring it up. She went on a family vacation. She told them she wasn't feeling well. She went back to her cabin. And 17 hours later, a housekeeper found her dead under a bed. The FBI has identified a suspect. The death certificate says homicide. The family knows who was in that room. And still 5 weeks later, no one's been charged with killing Anna Kepner. Give me your thoughts in the comment section on YouTube. If you're not already there, search Hidden Killers with Tony Bruschi. That's where you will find our channel. Please hit subscribe while you're there so you don't miss our commentaries and our monologues and our interviews and our conversations about this and the many cases we follow for you. And if you have a few moments too, Apple Podcasts, we are there, wherever you get podcasts actually, but Apple Podcasts, if you don't mind, if you got a few extra seconds, leave us a review there. We do greatly appreciate some kind words. Thank you so much in advance for that. Until next time, my name is Tony Bruschi. We will talk again real.
Want more on this case and others? Then press subscribe now and don't miss a moment of true crime coverage from Tony Bruschi and the Hidden Killers podcast.